Hi again then guys, and welcome to my 12th pick out of my top 30 wishlist vehicles for a future Gran Turismo game, be it GT Sport or GT7, but more likely GT7. And in this particular pick, I'm discussing one of my favourite cars in the world actually, not just on a wishlist for Gran Turismo, but overall on any game or in real life. And it's a car which I don't get the impression a huge amount of people actually like that much, which I can understand. Visually, it is a little bit of a Marmite car. You either love it or hate it, and I can understand why some people would hate it. It's a bit of a strange looking car. It's up there with cars like the Zonda and Spiker as being oddball and different as far as supercars go. And the car is called the B Engineering Edonis. The B Engineering logo, or moniker, stands for Bugatti Engineering, and the car was built by a group of ex-Bugatti employees when Bugatti liquidated in the 90s, and basically they used some of the leftover parts from the then produced Bugatti EB110 to make a new supercar. They planned to produce 21 vehicles. They were extremely expensive, well above $600,000, and they were improved actually over the EB110. Now the EB110 was already a seriously impressive supercar, but the Edonis, although mechanically based on it, is a completely different machine. It's not just a rebodied EB110, which it would be very easy to assume. For a start, the EB110 uses a 3.5 litre V12 with an all-wheel drive system, whereas the Edonis is bored out to 3.8 litres, has a twin-turbo, and is only rear-wheel drive. Now the power is increased on the Edonis to in excess of 680 horsepower, and it only weighs around 1,500 kilos, which is pretty good, especially of a car of its age, which came out before many of the ultra-lightweight supercars of, say, 2005 onward. Now, it came out in around 2002-ish, and you don't really see them. Even at car shows, it's very rare that you will ever see an Edonis, even at events like the Goodwood Festival of Speed. You may see one if you're lucky, but usually pretty much never. As far as performance, the acceleration is a little bit more sluggish than some, around 4 seconds to 60, but the top speed more than makes up for it. In fact, up until the insane megacars of the most recent years, the Edonis was one of the quickest supercars in the world. It's faster than a Gumper Apollo, it's faster than an Enzo, it's faster than any Zonda at 227 miles per hour, which is seriously impressive for a car with that kind of power and weight. As far as the handling, it's hard to say. It's hard to find tests on the Edonis. People don't really get the chance to drive them that often and test them. But compared to the existing platform of the EB110, which was already a good supercar, not necessarily the easiest to drive, but good nonetheless, the Edonis is doubtless a very rapid car around most circuits, especially circuits that allow it to really open up that straight line performance. Now, it's an ultra rare car, as we said, an extremely fast one as well, and visually it is really like nothing else in the supercar category. No other supercar looks anything like the Edonis from any angle. The headlights, for instance, are shaped like arrowheads, giving the car an almost sad appearance from the front end. The back end has huge grille openings for cooling to the engine, which again makes it look like nothing else. Initially you can kind of think, well, there's a little bit of Zonda about it, or a little bit of this, a little bit of Lamborghini perhaps, but not really. If you put it next to any other supercar, it's completely unique. It has a rear wing which extends to the back of the car almost like a long-tail tribute to those old Group C cars, which seems to sprout out of the rear window. It has a very flowing look to it, like a land speed car of some kind. As far as the interior, it's all measured and sculpted around the driver in a similar way to cars like the Corvette C7 Stingray. The dashboard wraps around the driver, and again it's very eccentric, again like a Pagani, like a Spiker. As far as how it would fit onto Gran Turismo against the existing supercars, well, I have no doubt that it would do very well. The acceleration, as I said, is a little bit sluggish, primarily due to that little bit of lag that some older supercar turbos had, but once it gets going, it's so quick in a straight line for mid-range and especially top-end performance that on many circuits, such as the Nürburgring, the Le Mans, tracks which require high-end performance like potentially Catalunya, if that was included on a future Gran Turismo game, it really could tear up the track. Now, the Edonis has not been featured on many racing games, if any, that I can think of in the mainstream. It was featured on Test Drive Unlimited, but even then, if I recall correctly, it was only a DLC car rather than being on the main game. It may be featured on some obscure little mobile game as well, like Asphalt 8 or something like that, but I haven't played those games, so I can't say. For the mainstream, for the most part, I don't believe Forza has ever included it. I know it hasn't included it up till the 4th game, I'm not sure about the newer ones, and I know that Gran Turismo has never included it either. Very few games have the Bugatti EB110 anyway, so the likelihood of them having the Edonis, which is an even rarer and more extreme car, is even less likely. Now, there's a little bit of an issue with sourcing an Edonis for them to map it into the game, but if they were able to do that, I think it would be a fantastic addition to the supercar lineup. It would be a new manufacturer to add to the game. It would be one of the quickest Italian cars in the game and one of the quickest supercars overall. And considering how quick it is with its existing 680 horsepower, with an upgraded engine, you could get phenomenal speeds around Special Stage Route X or other oval circuits, or even on tracks like the Le Mans, especially the old circuit. It could easily be one of the quickest cars in the game. 680 horsepower is already enough to give it a top speed of 227. So imagine what you could do with better turbos, an upgraded engine, and lower weight. It could be an absolute monster. It already is a monster, but it could easily be even more so. Now, the only game that I've ever used this car on was Test Drive Unlimited, so that's the only point of reference I have for this car in terms of how it could feel on a Gran Turismo game. And I have to say, on Test Drive Unlimited, it felt great. The acceleration was certainly sluggish off the line even when tuned, but the top end acceleration and top speed was incredible. Almost, in some ways, like the supercar equivalent of a sleeper, because it's such an obscure supercar, and a car which is so vague as to what its specs are, and people just don't really know stuff about the car, that it can kind of sneak up on a lot of the big named supercars, cars like the MC12, the Carrera GT, the Enzo, even cars like the Gumpert, the Ascari, the Mosler, in a straight line at least. It can put all of them to shame. Only the very best of supercars can actually outrun the Edonis for pure top speed. Cars like Koenigsegg, Bugatti, Hennessy, McLaren, it takes that caliber of supercar to really truly leave the Edonis in the dust. Any mainstream supercar, even up to and including the LaFerrari, McLaren P1, Jaguar CX-75 potentially were a production model, and the Porsche 918, they have more power, but they're no way near as quick for top speed. They're around 10 miles per hour off the kind of pace that the Edonis can achieve. Now, were it on the game, you'd need to take into account not only how quick it is, but also how rare it is, how obscure it is, how unique it is visually and mechanically, the fact that it's based on the EB110, which is a highly significant historical supercar, and also the fact that it's expensive in real life. Now, as far as PP, I wouldn't necessarily expect it to be huge, because it's not necessarily designed to be a track car, and the acceleration, as I said, is slightly sluggish. So I would personally expect the PP to be in the region of probably just over 600, considering that would be a little bit higher than the Enzo. And that would be about right, because they have a similar spec, but it's slightly better than the Enzo. So just over 600 PP or thereabouts in its stock form. As far as the price, I would like to see the Edonis have a price tag of something like 600,000 credits, maybe 650,000. I wouldn't mind at all if it was more than that. It's certainly worth it, but that would seem roughly a realistic kind of price, somewhere in the region of the 600 to 700,000 credit region. As far as top speed, who knows? I couldn't even guess as to how quick it could potentially be, especially with how inconsistent GT6 is when it comes to top speed. But I would guess probably a top speed in excess of 290 quite easily, considering how quick it already is. On Gran Turismo, it would certainly be quicker than 227 anyway, because most of the cars do exceed their real-world top speeds as standard. So I should think you could quite easily get it to be up there with the best of them. As far as handling, I really can't say. But it's not overly heavy, it's relatively compact, a little bit longer than some of the supercars, but not overly wide or overly tall. And potentially a very unique, oddball, and potentially very good alternative to cars like the Enzos and the Veyron, etc. on Gran Turismo. So that's it for this pick overall of the B Engineering Edonis. And if you are new to the series, I'll say as always, slap down below what cars you would personally love to see on maybe a current but more likely future Gran Turismo game. And also for those who are returning to the series, I've asked before what cars you would like and also what circuits, but perhaps a new question could be, what features do you think Gran Turismo Sport might have? The game is quite clearly to do with motorsports from what we've seen so far, so what do you think will make the game new? We've seen that it has FIA integration, but how do you think that will actually work in real terms? What are your predictions? Who knows? We may be able to come back to this video in the future, and you may just be right. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.